Tonight, my brother Oliver is fighting an American wrestling champion.
Yo, yo, yo!
Woo! Handicap is over here. It's showtime! Perfect.
Number 10 ranked Oliver Enkamp.
How do you feel?
I feel good. I feel alright.
What really happened in the US?
Well, it all started a little bit over 2 months ago, here in Sweden actually. When I got the fight, I signed my contract, my bout agreement, and started training for the fight. And the training started out well, but then pretty early into my training camp, I injured my knee. So my ligament tore, and I had to start rehabbing straight away because now I signed the bout agreement and I was in a full training camp. So time is scarce, and I tried to train around the injury as much as I could for a few weeks, but I wasn't able to do a lot of wrestling, obviously. And then the time came to fly to the United States. So I started my training there on a Monday. I did 3 sessions that day, some MMA, some wrestling, followed by some strength and conditioning. The day after, I was in a jiu-jitsu practice and my back started locking up. And I thought, that's weird. I felt stiff, I couldn't really move, and eventually I had to step off the mat. Now my back was so tight, it locked up completely, I couldn't bend at the waist. The morning after, I needed to use both hands to get out of the bed in the morning. And this stuck with me for almost 10 days. So I wasn't able to train during my first 2 weeks almost in the United States. I was mostly sitting on an exercise bike because then I could grab onto the handles and I didn't have to move my back. I would just use my legs.
So what happened next?
So now we're about 2 weeks ahead of the fight, and I decided to go to grappling training again. And I'm rolling with a high-profile MMA fighter. And before I had time to brace my core, something pops in my rib cage. And now I tore something in the cartilage between the ribs. So at first I didn't feel anything. I was like, oh, maybe it's good. And then I sat down and eventually my whole rib cage started contracting and I had a hard time breathing. When I took deep breaths, it felt like someone stuck a knife in between my ribs. And then I wasn't able to rotate or move my torso. And these kind of injuries take a long time to heal. Again, I ended up on the exercise bike, and eventually it started feeling better and I could move around. I couldn't put any pressure on it, but I could move around myself. So I would do some shadow boxing and some pad work. At the house I was staying in, there was actually a MMA coach who was a former fighter, and he was a really good pad holder. So he started working on the pads with me. At fight week, I could still feel pain in my ribs. Of course, this is very stressful, not only physically, but also mentally. So someone else might have chosen to postpone the fight or just cancel it. But it'd been 13 months since my last fight. Of course, I didn't want to let my fans down. They had been expecting me to get back in there, and I'd been working on so many new skills during the past year from my last fight. And also, I spent a lot of money, time, and energy on getting to the United States for my training camp. So I didn't want to let all the people down that helped me get to where I was.
So then what?
So come fight night, I knew my cardio is pretty good because I've been spending so much time on the bike. My mental state is good because I know it's not the past month that made me the fighter that I am today. It's the past 10 years that I've been doing MMA. So I would still be able to fight, even though the past month had not been optimal in terms of preparing for a wrestling fight. So we finally get to Connecticut for the fight week, and every day there's a new thing to do in the schedule, including media interviews and cutting weight. So we were doing some light exercise to keep the body going and get the weight down in the hotel gym, and also going through the game plan against this wrestler. When fight night comes around, we go from the hotel where we're staying to the arena, and it turns out I am the first fight of the fight card during that night. We actually expected me to be the last one, but we don't really know if they changed their schedule or if we misunderstood something. So we would start warming up pretty much as soon as we got to the arena, and now we're at the Mohegan Sun Casino, which has a big arena inside. When it was finally time to walk out, there's all these lights shining, cameras in your face, and I was standing there and in the back of my mind going through this past month and thinking, I can choose fear or joy. And if I choose fear, I'm gonna just build up some kind of armor to make me look tough and push through it with the circumstances I've been through during my not so optimal training camp. Or I can choose joy and go out as an entertainer and just enjoy the whole experience, because not a lot of people get to do and stand where I am today. And I chose joy. So I went out with a smile on my face to the tunes of You're the Best Around from the Karate Kid movie soundtrack. And I decided I'm gonna enjoy this fight, whatever happens. And I just prayed I would not be more injured, because my rib and my back was obviously not 100% yet. So the fight starts. I get out in the middle of the octagon straight away. I use a long guard, and I decided to go out with my right leg forward so we would have an open stance, meaning we had different legs forward, which would make it harder for him as a wrestler to shoot in on my legs. This way I was able to use my lead leg effectively for kicking and keeping the distance, because I didn't want any pressure on this rib right now. So I tried to avoid the clinch and use my footwork to move around more. My idea was to be pretty aggressive and have a lot of pressure forward, because the mistake I see a lot of strikers do against grapplers is that they're focusing too much on their takedown defense, which puts them in a defensive mindset and lets the wrestler dictate the pace of the fight. In hindsight, I would probably been better off having a little more composure and waiting for the right moment to attack. Because right now I was just looking for engagement all the time to make him hesitate on his shots. So I landed a few kicks in the beginning, but then he would just rush in and we would end up on the fence and down on the ground. When we got to the ground, I didn't want to wrestle with him because I didn't want to put more pressure or an impact on my ribs. So I would just try to stand up and get away from his pressure. It turned out he didn't really want to fight. He held on for dear life with both hands and tried to trap my legs. A lot of wrestlers use this tactic to trap their legs to make their hands free to strike you. And I was expecting this, so I would try to turn away my injured rib so he wouldn't hit it with his hands. But he was too occupied grabbing me with his hands, so I'd never received any strikes to the body. Over and over, I just tried to stand up and create distance. His head was pressured against my chest, so I didn't have any room to strike like this or use my elbows. Instead, I would extend my arm and I would slap his eardrum. I know by experience this is very disturbing, and straight away you want to move your head, which would give me an opportunity to turn around and start working my way up. So I would slap his ear as soon as he connected both hands, and when he released his grip, I would start working my way up. 13 times in total I stood up. You get points for takedowns, but not really for stand-ups. So perhaps it would have been a better idea for me to just sit down and let the referee stand us up when nothing happened because of inactivity. But since I was working all the time getting back up, he would just let this wrestler hold me without really attacking. And I decided instead of fighting fire with fire, I would use a different tactics and I would go for submissions, using offense as my defense. So I would attack his arms with the Kimura grip and I would go for choke holds and triangle holds and constantly attacking to keep him defensive. And the referee declared my opponent the winner. After the fight, I had mixed feelings. I was relieved that my injuries didn't get any worse, but I was also disappointed that he didn't want to make a more of an exciting fight. He came there to win, I came there to put on a show.
And lastly, the most important question after a setback. What lesson did this experience teach you that you needed to learn?
It's not the stress in itself that wears you down, but how you carry it. You are in charge of your mind. You can't control what happens to you, but you can control how you react to it. And being the master of your own mind, you can really ride out any experience that happens to you, no matter how hard it might feel at the time. I believe a meditation practice can really help with this, or just nurturing your mind by the traditional martial arts values that you get when you step into the dojo.
So what happens now?
So now I'm gonna take some time and build my body back up. I'm gonna do a lot of strength training and heal the core up. And as soon as I feel ready to start wrestling again, we're gonna go back to the drawing board and start working more on the offensive and defensive wrestling. And I'll see you guys for the next fight.